So we were talking about Beast Wars as a podcast about two comedians rewatching the 1990s TV series Beast Wars Transformers. Although we are discussing a children's television show, the podcast itself is not intended for children. So, Phil, this one was a pretty intense episode, huh?
Yeah, sometimes I talk about how Optimus Primal goes against type every now and then, but it was really interesting to see how through the...
Hey, hold on. Is Optimus here? I'm sorry, Andy, I just grabbed the mic from Phil. Can I give you some thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. I mean, this episode is called Guerrilla Warfare, so I'm dying to hear your thoughts.
Oh, yes. This shouldn't be called guerrilla warfare. You know what I would have gone with, brother?
Yeah, let me know.
I would have called it Apetimus, the episode.
All right, so you feel Optimus really embodied what it is to be Apetimus in this episode.
Oh, yeah. It was a real mind-body connection. Optimus Prime here, brother, and I'm telling you about the best episode ever. It's all about Optimus in this episode. And I'm the only Maximal that's 3 animals, brother.
3? What animals are those?
Oh, it's this gorilla and these 2 pythons. All right. That's right. The bicep boas, the veiny vipers, the swole snakes, the compound cobras, that is to say, my 2 arms.
This is an audio medium, so sadly, Apetimus, we've yet to be able to send a good photo of you to all of our fans. But listeners, I gotta tell you, Apetimus has some swole arms.
Hey, Andy, I just hit Apetimus with a tranquilizer to try to get the microphone back. I'm really sorry about all that.
Oh. Yeah, it's hard to keep a good Apetimus down.
You're very good-natured about this.
Well, yeah, you kind of have to be. I specifically thought of Apetimus at one point when, I think it might have been Rat Trap, used the term ape slag at one point, which to me very much reminded me of Apetimus's catchphrase, "Time to go ape shit."
That's still funny. Ape slag. Yeah. Do you think they meant ape shit when they said ape slag?
Yeah, 100%. An episode or 2 ago, Dinobot said to Megatron, "Eat slag!" I feel like at times slag very much is meant to be a stand-in for shit.
Wow, so he was really yelling, "Eat shit, Megatron." That gives a little different context for me.
Well, I think one of the very first things we hear Dinobot say in the show overall is, "Megatron, you idiot!" So, they already start off on not very respectful terms.
That's a good point. And I guess Dinobot's language has softened a little bit the more socialized he becomes to Maximals.
There's a lot to get into with that for this episode, for sure. So why don't we get into it?
Okay.
So we were talking about Beast Wars.
We were talking about Beast Wars. What episode were we talking about?
We are on Season 1, Episode 10, Guerrilla Warfare. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Andy Hunter.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
If you, like our third occasional co-host, Apetimus, wanted to see Optimus really just be a badass, and this is the episode for you.
Yeah, he really goes all out. And there's also an Optimus body horror moment, which it's like every other episode.
Yeah. But we start off on a very different note. Peaceful, would-be majestic opening shot of twin waterfalls. But unfortunately, at this stage in CGI's development, they really could not do water with CGI, so you translate in your mind how that would be beautiful in real life.
Yeah, I think the music helps a lot with kind of telegraphing what you're supposed to be feeling right there.
Yeah, so Optimus and Dinobot are on some sort of scientific expedition. Optimus wants to study a plant, but Dinobot derides it as a worthless pursuit that leaves them vulnerable. And he says that he thinks Optimus has lost his battle edge. So I guess in Chain of Command, when he emerged from that alien device and single-handedly took out all the Predacons, I guess that must have been a while ago, if Dinobot is saying that now Optimus has lost his battle edge.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's played up in Dinobot's dialogue here, like accusing Optimus of having lost his edge. And also, he goes hard at hating this Venus flytrap thing. I mean, it's like, did like a Venus flytrap take his lunch money when he was a kid or something?
Well, I mean, who knows? We do know from the later show Beast Machines that Cybertronians can transform into plants, not just animals or machines. So, yes, maybe a Venus flytrap Maximal or Predacon did really bully him when he was a young Dinobot. Of course, presumably his name wasn't Dinobot at the time because, as we discussed in the first episode, it seems like Cybertronians must just be pretty easygoing about changing their names when they take a new form.
Oh, I assumed that his name back then was Dino Boy.
That makes sense, yeah. So Dinobot really hates this plant, and that's even before it projectile shoots a spur at him. So I couldn't track down any information about real-life plants projectile shooting spurs the way this one does. Must be because they're on some mysterious alien two-mooned planet that's just not an Earth plant.
I do have a funny story about a Venus flytrap.
Okay.
So we work in an office that's in the neighborhood environment, and what they're selling the neighborhood environment is that whatever the desk norms are for each of these like 30 desk pods is whatever the neighborhood decides should go on there. But what's really happening is that there are not enough desks for employees. Right? You have to share the desks. They're forcing everybody to be in the office, but they didn't create enough desks for everybody.
Oh.
So the way they're mitigating this is by saying that the neighborhood has to fix all of the issues. So like instead of blaming the company, you just develop acrimonious relationships with your coworkers.
Yeah, that's a real microcosm of society in general, isn't it? I recently went to a diversity seminar called The Invisible Table. And the way that worked is as you entered the room, you were randomly given either a fork or a spoon. And if you had a fork, you could go sit at a table where people would then bring you your lunch. And if you had a spoon, you went to sit in this circle of chairs that did not have a table, and people did not bring you food. And some of the people at the table noticed this and opted to then bring their own plates over and said, hey, do you want any of my food? But it was a very good micro simulation of how when we set up society in a way that some people have more than others, it basically creates a tension between those two that, the have-nots only get anything through the grace of the haves. And no one is looking at the people who actually just arranged the situation in the first place that put some people at the invisible table. Just as you pointed out, that it's to the benefit of the people who did not make enough desks that everybody's mad at the person in the half a desk next to them than the people who ordered the desks in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They have very effectively switched what you're supposed to be disappointed at to each other. But the reason I bring this up in the context of this episode of Beast Wars is because there was a person who was very annoyed that people were not arranging their mouse and keyboard at the desks the way they wanted them to. And there was an argument about what position you should put your keyboard and mouse in when you leave the shared desks every day. So, we're off to a great start. A group of adults can't figure out how to manage mice and keyboards in a neighborhood environment. But this person also unilaterally decided to bring in, as an office plant for the entire neighborhood, a Venus flytrap.
I can imagine that they thought they were doing that as a community service. Like, hey, if there's ever a fly in the office, my plant's going to take care of it for us.
They didn't talk about it in a community servicey way. The way they talked about it was, one, isn't this such a nice thing this person did for the office? And two, under no circumstances should anyone touch my plant.
Well, so, Phil, I get why that person sounds like kind of a bad neighbor at work, but it's better than I expected because I thought you were going to say, I have a Venus flytrap story. We're all having to share desks at the office, and I have to share a desk with Audrey, too, from Little Shop of Horrors, who keeps trying to eat me and drink my blood.
Feed me, Seymour. I think people did vote on the name Audrey.
You have to.
So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a an Audrey vibe there where it doesn't necessarily start talking to Dinobot, but the plant does make its opinion known to Dinobot.
Yeah, for sure. It does so by shooting this spur at him. And then Dinobot freaks out. "Oh, I can't reach it. Get it off, get it off." I was thinking, couldn't he have transformed and then probably reached it easily? But I guess it was just hitting him in just the right spot, that it was more annoying and ticklish than painful or something. I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting. Where would that spot on his body correspond to when he's in robot mode?
Maybe his back-ish or something. But yes, because when he transforms, you see relatively little of his raptor hide. Oh, maybe he was afraid, it would have unfolded and then that spur would have been on the inside of me or something.
Exactly. It could have turned into a kidney stone, or it could have ended up on his crotch or something like that. It could have created an abscess of some kind.
All right. Yeah. All right. I hear that.
I'm just trying. I'll say anything at this point.
Optimus, I need a warm compress for this abscess caused by that spur.
Dinobot, the real you would never say anything like that at all.
The spur must have dulled my battle edge.
Dinobot, Max, ow, 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 ow.
So Optimus observes that was just the right spot where Dinobot's dinosaur arms couldn't reach it. Make a mental note of that. And the Scorponok shows up, shoots him a bunch, and then shoots Optimus with a special Cyber Bee. I don't think we'd seen a Cyber Bee from Scorponok before. That is something the toy had, I know.
Oh.
And even in that, you might wonder, what is the connection between bees and scorpions? Other than, I guess, they both can sting.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. Maybe they intended for it to be another... Oh, yeah, they both sting. No, that's it. That does make sense.
Yeah, if you want.
What I didn't understand is why didn't Scorponok just shoot both of them in the back?
He probably didn't trust his aim. He knows that in this show, depending on the battle encounter, people hit 100% of the shots they take or 3% of the shots they take. The Cyber Bee gives Optimus a virus, and it is intended to make him cowardly. If the other Maximals take it off, Optimus will die, and it will explode. However, there is a cure for it that Scorponok has, so that they could take it off and put the cure into Optimus. Or I guess maybe they could even have used the cure while it was still attached, and then it would have just deactivated the Cyber Bee. But spoiler alert, we never really see that option come into play. But anyway, as the Maximals are discussing this, Optimus bursts out of the CR chamber, shooting it up and kicking down the door, asking who wants to fight. And when they all discuss how Optimus is very much not cowardly, I did really like Dinobot's line, Scorponok is notoriously incompetent.
That was pretty funny. Are you sure Optimus Primal emerges from the CR chamber there, Andy?
You know what? I think you're right. I think perhaps it is Apetimus Prime who emerges from that CR chamber, ready to go. Although, you know what? This is going to be controversial, but I'll say it. There was one way he didn't remind me of Apetimus Prime, and that's in that he said jack shit about bananas.
Oh, that's right. He did not mention his love for bananas. Yeah. He also wasn't wearing a lot of tassel.
Yeah, he did not have a do-rag. Though, you know what? I think, hold on. Oh, wait, I did just see here, there was a deleted scene where he said, I'm bananas for fighting. So I think that I think that solves that issue.
You're all cowards. I'll do this myself. I'm bananas for fighting.
It's written right here. Yeah.
And then I think Waspinator comes in and says, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. Yeah, so he wants to fight. Megatron's plan is for the cowardly Optimus to come to them requesting the antidote. And he says that will be the Maximals' final battle in the Beast Wars. So I think this might be the first time we have heard Megatron or any of the Predacons use the term Beast Wars. So I guess, as we conjectured, they must have heard when Optimus screamed it at the end of the pilot, let them be called Beast Wars.
He did scream it pretty loud.
Yeah, Megatron heard and was like, okay, yeah, we'll let them be called that.
You know, a good idea is a good idea.
Optimus has a brief moment of clarity, and he asks that his weapons be disabled and he be locked up. We do see him locked up, but then later on, he's got full access to his weapons, so maybe they never did that part.
That's a good point. And that's also when he's in the Maximal prison. I didn't realize that the Maximals had like prisons or prison cells on their ship. Maybe they invented it for this episode.
Yeah, or maybe they built that at the same time that they were building Sentinel. But yeah, their brig is a cage, somewhat similar to the Predacons, except it's made out of lasers, so it can't be lockpicked. And it's not dangling over lava. So, 2 improvements right there.
There you go.
Dinobot just suggests loading up Optimus with all the weapons they've got and pointing him at the Predacons. Rhinox and Rat Trap said that, well, the problem with that plan is Optimus would get killed, and Dinobot says, that's only a problem depending on your perspective.
What a jerk. Actually, during that, there's a conversation between Cheetor and Optimus when Optimus is in the brig.
Yeah.
I thought it was touching that Cheetor was encouraging Optimus to fight it.
Yeah, this episode had a lot of Cheetor looking up to Optimus and delving into that relationship for the first time. Him calling him Big Bot in this episode really does take on a quality of, like, you're somebody I look up to, Optimus, and not just, like, you're the boss.
I have more thoughts on Cheetor, but I'll save all of that for the end of the episode.
Well, I have a thought on Cheetor, which is that he lets Optimus out of jail when Optimus is like, I think I've got this sort of under control. I would have thought, given that Cheetor has flown off the handle a few times in this series so far, I'm a little surprised that Cheetor has, like, the access codes or whatever to unlock the jail and let people out of it.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I just assumed anybody who's on the outside could just let them out.
Yeah, I guess that is what the case is. So Optimus, like I said, he's sort of keeping it under control, and he agrees with Dinobot's plan. Except that, at least in this moment, he does want the rest of the Maximals to help. But then he loses control, shoots up the place, and leaves. He flips and is like, oh, you're all too cowardly to come with me.
Oh, and this is where he says, I'm apeshit for bananas? Or what does he say?
Bananas for fighting.
I did have a couple of other thoughts about that whole exchange, because there's like various points when they're trying to subdue Optimus. He eventually throws everybody off, but Rhinox does the best job of just manhandling Optimus.
Yeah.
It was really telling to see, like, just how powerful he is.
Yeah, you very much get the impression that were Optimus not having a surge of the robot version of adrenaline, that Rhinox would easily be able to overpower him. Or maybe not easily, but that Rhinox would, of the two of them in a wrestling match, Rhinox would be able to pin Optimus.
You also did mention something else I wanted to bring up. There are a lot of proxies for meth in this show. Every other episode, somebody's shooting up full of something.
Yeah. Well, this show was the mid-90s. The writers, some of them had been actively writing since at least the 80s, and we know that the 80s was a big cocaine decade, so who knows?
I just started thinking about Optimus Prime from the original show, just like doing a line.
Or he tries and then he realizes he has no nose. No!
Damn this planet.
No, I think the way the original Transformers did cocaine was they just took a baggie of coke and they just like squished it down, and then it was a cube of cocaine energon. And they're like, oh, that's the stuff.
When he ODs, it was energon laced with cocaine.
This is pure Colombian energon, Optimus.
Do you know it took 100 men to smush this down?
So we were talking about Beast Wars. Optimus storms off. Is this the first time we see Optimus's faceplate close?
I think we've seen it one other time before, but maybe only once.
That's how you know he's getting into battle mode, I guess. Cheetor wants to go after Optimus. Dinobot criticizes him for wanting to just run after Optimus, saying that there's no strategy, just blind aggression. But it seems to me like there are plenty of times Dinobot's strategy is to just run in guns blazing himself. Like when he just did that 30-foot flying leap at Megatron in Chain of Command and then just wrestled with him for a long time. Was there strategy there? Or maybe this is because maybe he's seeing the worst parts of himself in Optimus right now. And he's like, you know what, guys, we need to do what Optimus would do. And he suggests the thing he hates most of all, negotiating.
A great line.
Yeah.
Love that line. And you bring up a good point, which is that he's seeing his own behavior. You know, it's like when you see somebody else doing what you do, when you're letting it all hang out and you're like, ooh, that's a bad look.
Yeah. So they call the Predacons, but the negotiation fails. Megatron's like, if Optimus is coming here on his own, we're just going to kill him. Though I did find it funny that Megatron believed them. Because I thought maybe he was just going to dismiss it as a ruse. Like, oh, you're trying to trick me. But I know Optimus must be cowardly right now. But rather, instead, he immediately believed them, because I guess he also knows how incompetent Scorponok is.
Or maybe he also just discounts their ability to be duplicitous.
Yeah, that might be. Even though they've been fooled in the past by Rat Trap saying that he was defecting to them. Could be. So here we get Optimus's rampage. He just busts through the walls of the Predacon ship. Tarantulas tries to shoot his boomerang missile thing at him, and Optimus catches it. That part alone is not that impressive, but then Optimus tanks a shit ton of bullets and impales Tarantulas with the sharp end of that boomerang thing, and that was badass.
That was pretty badass. I also loved how he gave Tarantulas the Dikembe Mutombo finger wag right before he was. He was like, That was a little intimidating.
I thought of that as more the Team 1000 in Terminator 2 had a moment of
Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's a great point, because in the next scene, Optimus goes at Waspinator, and the way he grabs him is by bursting through the wall.
Yeah.
And that's another Terminator 2 reference. So you're probably spot on with that.
Is there a moment in Terminator 2 where that happens?
Pretty sure there's a scene in one of the Terminator movies where Arnold just kind of bursts through the wall. Or one of the Terminators bursts through the wall.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder, maybe it was Terminator 1. But yeah, that was badass too. Finally, Optimus makes it up to Megatron, who, worth pointing out here, has been in beast mode as a T-Rex the entire episode.
I have thoughts on that, but please keep going.
So Optimus catches up with him, and Megatron is like, yep, I'll give you the antidote if you swear fealty to me. And Optimus instead is like, or let's just both go out in a blaze of glory. And he rips off the bee. Megatron is like, holy shit, that's gonna blow up. He runs away, and Optimus chucks it in that same spot on his back that he can't reach. So that scene both served as foreshadowing to the audience, but also is perhaps an indication that Optimus still has enough of his reasoning faculties to be somewhat strategic and to incorporate knowledge that he has learned through careful scientific observation. So worked nicely on two levels.
Yeah, I agree. It's like he could still access that part of his memory, but he decided to channel it into a cool guys walk away moment of some kind.
Before we move on to the next part, you said you had more thoughts on Megatron having been in beast mode this whole episode.
Yeah, thank you. So I know that in order for the whole gag to work, he has to get stuck in beast mode. So, the bee can be in the one place he can't get to. But one of the other things that I think that accomplished, especially when Megatron walks up to Optimus at the end in beast mode, one of the ways I found that so intimidating was that Optimus just invaded the ship and took out a couple of your guys, and you don't even think enough of the situation to transform into robot mode. He comes out with the serum and he's like, this is how much power I have over you right now. These two little T-Rex arms hold more power than is within your grasp right now. You have to do whatever I say.
Yes, one will never say that a lack of confidence is among Megatron's faults. So yeah, that's a good point. Luckily, Megatron flings the antidote up in the air as he runs away, and Cheetor shows up right then and grabs the antidote. Because the Maximals have shown up and are kind of running interference, I really liked their plan of, we're going to draw their fire, and then Cheetor, you're the fastest one, you go into beast mode and run in there. He shows up, he's got the antidote. I really thought Optimus's line, spark, fading, was very funny to me if we pictured it in human terms. Like if I were dying and I was like, soul, fading.
Need more souls.
So Optimus is saved. Cheetor gives him the cure. We see Megatron and Scorponok, and he's like, oh, get this off me. They look to camera right as the bee explodes. I know it's a kid's show, but after the buildup of how, like, oh, we can't remove this bee without blowing up everything in the vicinity, it's a little disappointing to me that they just have it explode in Megatron and Scorponok's hands, and I know they're going to be just fine next episode. I know the Predacon ship is going to be just fine next episode. So that was a little ding in the episode for me.
Yeah, and also that's like this ongoing theme, and I think you were the first person to bring up this theme. How powerful are the weapons we're talking about? When people are shooting their guns, like, how powerful is it? Is this a low stakes bomb that's going to kill everyone, or is this a high stakes bomb that's going to kill everyone?
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, honestly, even in movies and TV shows aimed at adults that use realistic weapons, that's kind of the case anyway. That, you know, in Die Hard 1, getting his feet cut on glass is a big problem for Bruce Willis. But then I'm sure in later Die Hard episodes, you've got him like, oh, I've been shot in the shoulder. And then he probably goes on the rest of the movie. Or you know, like, always got that disconnect.
Yeah, in the later movies, his feet are made of glass.
Oh. No, you are thinking of, was it Unbreakable? Where Samuel L. Jackson says, they called me Mr. Glass.
And then cut to him doing the exact same scene as Bruce Willis in Die Hard. They call me Mr. Glass. Ow, ow.
So we return to the Maximal base. Dinobot is sitting by Optimus as he awakes. So that is sweet. I did notice, like, why is Optimus waking up as if post-surgery instead of emerging from the CR chamber? And then I remembered, oh, well, he blew up the CR chamber, so I guess Rhinox probably had to just do some regular robo-surgery on him. Dinobot says it's good to have Optimus both back home and back to normal, and he smiles. And then we see that he has planted one of the flowers that they'd been examining in the beginning of the episode in a pot in Optimus's room. So Dinobot has learned to appreciate some of Optimus's qualities.
Yeah, that was a very cool moment. I loved how when Optimus woke up, it was just like the end of Lord of the Rings. But instead of like all the hobbits, it's just Dinobot.
Yeah.
Now that we've hit the end of the episode, I wanted to talk about Cheetor.
Yeah.
I think this episode is Cheetor at his best.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
There's a lot of affection for Cheetor amongst the other Maximals, and I think this is part of the reason why. I think they just know, one, he's a good-hearted individual, and where he screws up is when it's about his own ego. And he's just like, I'm not afraid to do this. I'm big enough and tough enough to do that. But he had some really clear thinking and very little waffling and lots of decisiveness in this episode. And I think it's because it was all about somebody else.
Yeah, I did like how here we see him channeling that headstrong nature into believing in Optimus, as opposed to, like, I'm out to prove myself.
Yeah, that's where he gets into trouble. But when he realizes that one of his other teammates or one of the other Maximals is in trouble, he knows how to ride for other people. And at the end of the day, I think that's what you want from a teammate. All the other weaknesses, I think, will work their way out as he gets older. But I think that's what they love about him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Would you like to play a little bit of Beast Wars Bingo?
Yeah.
So we got one check mark for the moments: bullet train hanging precariously, animal looking towards the sky at falling object, and Optimus body horror. We got one Optimus body horror.
Yeah. Although maybe it just shows how much my thermometer for Optimus body horror is skewed at this point. It's like, oh, all right, well, what, he had a thing stuck to his chest and then he got shot a bunch. Like, all right, that's not...
It's not like his soul's going to be disintegrated like in most other episodes.
Yeah, he's not like, my matter seems to have been converted into mental energy and I'm inside this alien probe.
Yeah, much lower stakes. He's just going to die. Okay, as far as how many times Maximize and Terrorizer said, how many times has Maximize said?
I'm going to guess twice. My guess is that it only happens when Optimus and Dinobot are ambushed by Scorponok, and then maybe they both say it.
And how many times do you think Terrorize has said?
I'm going to guess 0 times.
Holy crap. Okay, so you're spot on. Ooh. I really did not expect this.
Oh.
Terrorize is never said in the episode. Maximize is said completely twice.
Oh.
But it's a trick question because it's half said. Dinobot is saying Maximize and then like Optimus closes his mouth.
Oh, yes.
So I think you nailed that one. I think this is the first time you've ever nailed one of those. That's really good.
Oh, well, thanks. The trick, though, is I need to try not to keep track of them. Now that we've started playing this game, when we watch the episode, I need to try not to keep track of them myself, because then it ruins the game.
Well, no, here's the thing. You know why I'm not worried about that? Because I'm keeping track of them, and I still can't count them correctly. It is so hard. Like I'll watch the episode once at regular speed, and then I'll watch the episodes at high speed to do passes. This is me nerding out for the 7 of you who are not me, Andy, or somebody we live with listening to the podcast. I'll watch the episode once through at regular speed, and then I'll watch it once or twice at high speed to do the passes for Beast Wars Bingo and Maximize Terror. And I always lose one. I always miss one.
Maybe that's just an indication of that you do a good job just like getting involved in the show and then forgetting to track the ephemera.
Yeah, it is a testament to the show and the writing. I thought the writing was really good. You mentioned this before when Dinobot turns around and is like, we have to do what Optimus would do, negotiate.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love that. That's great. That's a great moment for Dinobot. And it also shows another thing that's noble about Dinobot is admitting when he's clearly wrong and admitting to his weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like he does that because tactically he has to admit to those things if he wants to put everybody in the best position to move forward. So despite the fact that he has a couple of gaffes where, Cheetor basically gives away to the Predacons and Optimus and stuff, he has some gaffes, but like after the initial thing, he comes off looking pretty good too.
Yeah, and it also shows, despite him in the scene where Rat Trap and Rhinox are like, yeah, the only problem with your plan is that Optimus gets killed, and Dinobot's like, yeah. Was that a bug or a feature? When Optimus actually goes off on his own to do it, Dinobot doesn't just be like, all right, well, cool. He'll win or he won't. Either way, I'm happy. He instead is like, I don't want Optimus to kill himself doing this. Let me try to do what Optimus would do in order to save him.
Yeah, it's like one of those be careful what you wish for things.
Yeah.
When he sees him flying, it's like, oh, this is not good at all.
Yeah.
I think that's all I had for this episode.
Cool. Yeah, this was a fun one. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I've been Andy Hunter.
I've been Phil Thomas.
And now we have talked about Beast Wars.